So, dear Mr. Keneshbek Sainazarov, thank you so much for being with us today. My name is Tristan Harnish. I am a research assistant for the Bulan Institute, and it is our absolute pleasure to interview you today. So let's begin. Knowing the important role that has been played by Search for Common Ground in PRR in the region and taking into account your essential role, we are absolutely delighted to interview you today about the successes and challenges of Central Asian countries in the region today. Could you please tell us what the main achievements and lessons learned of the repatriation and reintegration in general in the region are? And then, as a second part to the question, 3 to 4 years have passed now since the first groups have arrived. Could you give us could you go over what we have, what structures we have now, please?
Thank you, Tristan, for your question, and it's my pleasure to talk with you today. And in terms of the achievements and challenges, I would like to highlight several of them. And in terms of the achievements, I think looking at the PRR in Central Asia, one could say that I would say three things. One is the overall the rehabilitation. First of all, the repatriation operations have been carried out in throughout all Central Asian countries quite successfully, with the concerted efforts of whole of government approach, I would say. Here, starting from the MFAs of each of the Central Asian countries, ending with the local government officials, they have all worked towards one goal, which is successful completion of the successful operation of the repatriation of their citizens back home. Secondly, rehabilitation efforts is a huge achievement, I would say. Like, even though there were skeptics and concerns when rehabilitation processes have started, but overall, this rehabilitation processes have been quite successful, I would say, even though they've been all in all planned for more or less 2 months. And as a result of the rehabilitation processes, and I based on our knowledge, the success rate is above 90%, which is quite high, right? And the third one is, I would say, the achievement is related with the how Central Asian, the local communities have breasted the reintegration program itself and welcoming all these individuals, children, and mainly children and women, back to their own community. And again, here I would say that the whole of society approach has been a key to the success of this overall operations. And in terms of the lessons learned, again, I would highlight three things. One is that what we know is that rehabilitation and reintegration process is a long process, and there is no silver bullet that could work in all settings. So it's kind of a learning and doing, and for that we need to have a wisdom and patience, right? And the second one is that during this rehabilitation and reintegration processes, there are some pitfalls, and it is not to criticize the institutions who are really doing their best for this process to work, and without really criticizing, looking at the where the things got wrong and how we can fix it.
Mhm.
Right. And then the third lesson learned is that at the end of the day, it's all about the people. So people-centered approach is the key to create an achievement and secure success. So those are big lessons learned for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your answer. That was very interesting. The 90% success rate is definitely very interesting as well. So second question. Many countries, especially Western countries, are still reluctant to bring back citizens. What kind of factors do you think influence the decisions of Central Asian countries to repatriate their citizens? And going off of that, do you think that these were political decisions, or did we also have cultural, social, and moral factors at hand uh, in the decision-making process?
Indeed. Here, I think I would say that the rationale behind the decision was mainly the factors that are affecting were cultural and moral factors that the leaders of each of the Central Asian countries have taken. And it is a political decision. And even within Central Asia region, we still have some skeptics, and we still have the bureaucratic hurdles. But then, without the political decision, nothing would move.
Hmm.
And I think that way, Central Asia as a society have demonstrated that people can make mistakes, but those mistakes are not that fatal, and the government has really the state institutions have demonstrated the genuinity, wisdom, and then also and opportunities to correct those mistakes, and which goes back to the really the root causes for how and why individuals get radicalized and join violent extremist organizations. So one of the comments is usually made is how the government is unjust. So here in rehabilitation and reintegration processes, including the repatriation, I think the Central Asian governments have demonstrated the a different approach, how some of the even individuals can be pardoned, given an opportunity to correct their mistakes. So I think just so all in all, in conclusion, I think it was a political decision, but behind it the rationale were mostly the cultural and moral factors influencing that. Is for example in Kazakhstan, the way how even the repatriation operation has been named, like Jusan, is the this is the specific species of the in this herb in only that can have grows in Kazakhstan. It has its own specific the smell and a specific fragrance of this herb. So this is kind of an it really highlights the cultural rationale behind it, that no Kazakh citizen can be left one-to-one with all the problems in an unknown land, and the person maybe has made a mistake, but the government has an opportunity and a responsibility to make a decision to bring back that person and give an opportunity for that person to correct their mistakes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So, third question. Many phases of rehabilitation and reintegration in Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan are almost done. And so we'd like to ask what stages these countries are in at the moment, what next stages are upcoming, and what do these countries need to do to better support returnees?
Indeed, Tristan, the many phases of rehabilitation and reintegration processes have been completed in Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan, including the processes in pardoning some of the male individuals as well. And Tajikistan and Kyrgyzstan are catching up this process, I would say. And at this moment, I would say, all Central Asian countries have developed a unique experience, and I can see that in Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan, they are developing as an SOP, standard operation procedures for rehabilitation and reintegration of individuals who have been captivated in the radicalization and violent extremist process, and which is also an exemplar, I would say, the experience which can be replicated in other parts of the world, and adopting the standard operation procedures. And at the same time, I think the returnees process, as I mentioned earlier in my interview, it is a long process, and sometimes things can go wrong. So what kind of procedures do we have is to go back and improve the process. So I think it will take another perhaps 1 or 2 rounds before the whole system is really refined, and then also the whole phenomenon of radicalization and violent extremism is not far in this region, in light of how situation is evolving in neighboring Afghanistan or in the Ukraine situation. So I think overall this gained experience and systematized processes will be quite useful in the coming future as well. And then second emphasis I would like to make is that related to the nature of the work with of the frontline workers, like psychologists, social workers, and social pedagogues and others, and how they can adopt this in a systematic way and apply it in other situations. Like, for example, in Uzbekistan, the system is now looking at really the overall the cohort of the population. They call it people under the difficult circumstances, right? It can be, I mean, any person can fall in that category, and the lessons learned can be adopted in other contexts.
So,
So I would
thank you.
say, like, thank you.
Thanks again. Let's move to Tajikistan this time. So Tajikistan brought back recently more than 140 women and children from Syria. Could you tell us, please, how the rehabilitation and reintegration of these individuals are going on right now? And specifically, we're asking how these people are being treated at the moment. Do you have any information on this?
I don't have much information on that, Tristan, to be honest. But based on what I know, I would say, like, three things. So based on the information I have, I would like to make the following points, right? One is that Tajikistan, I mean, this 140 women and children is the second cohort the country has received. The first cohort were the 70 plus, mostly all of them are the children under 18 years old. And they have gone through the government adopted scheme on rehabilitation and reintegration processes. And that scheme was mainly inspired by the Tajikistan's already, past experience when after the civil war in Tajikistan, close to 1 million people have been got back to their own country and have gone through the reintegration process themselves. So some of the lessons learned from that period has been adopted, and Tajikistan this time with the 140 children and women, the country had a refined approach and a methodology. And so far, from what I have heard, is the process of rehabilitation and reintegration has at least two specific areas. One is the gender-based approach is there with a special lens to look at, and then also the age sensitivity approach and mechanisms are also there to look at the markers and the indicators and how the rehabilitation and integration processes are processed. So I would say, like, this time the country had a better chance of working with those individuals.
That's very interesting. Thank you. So you were working closely with the Kyrgyz government on plans to repatriate, excuse me, women and children from Syria. Can we hope that Kyrgyzstan is ready and determined to bring them back home soon?
I really hope so, Tristan. And this question, I mean, even I am involved in some of the discussions, and this has been going on. The conversation has been going on at least 2+ years now. And the children and women in the camps of Syria are going through very, very difficult time. So whenever the decision is made by the Kyrgyz government to bring back those individuals is never, I would say, never late. And it is always the high time to bring those individuals back. And now I think in Kyrgyzstan, I would say three factors are very important to justify that the Kyrgyz society is ready to bring back those individuals. First of all, like Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan also has already received 70+ children from Iraq. And they have gone through the rehabilitation and reintegration process, and there were lessons learned, and the key institutions have already adopted specific procedures for putting through those individuals in rehabilitation and reintegration processes. Secondly, the society itself is ready, including some of the relatives and parents of those women and children. So, which is already also a huge, I think, success in success factor. And those in the parents community are ready to even support the Kyrgyz government in the rehabilitation and reintegration process, including some of the material, providing some of the tangible goods as well to the Kyrgyz government, and which is already good. And the third, why I believe the Kyrgyz society is ready to bring those individuals back is related with I would say, the media. Initially, the most, the fear was that how media will treat those individuals when they are brought back, and whether there will be any stigma or stereotypes reinforced in the Kyrgyz media. And so far, I think with the operation of the rehabilitation and reintegration process of those 70 plus children, and media has also developed their own approach. I would say mostly the conflict sensitive journalism approaches, and to report about these individuals. And I think the overall, I would say, society is ready, the media is ready, and the Kyrgyz government, state institutions are also have developed their own certain procedures to bring those individuals back. And I'm sure the if and when the operation will happen, it will be quite successful.
Well, we're certainly looking forward to it. So last question. At the end, could we talk about existing challenges and problems in PRR in Central Asia? Going further, would you agree with some experts who observe that stigmatization, radicalization within families, poverty, and other social problems are still remaining huge obstacles for the successful reintegration of returnees?
Thank you very much for that excellent question, Tristan. Indeed, we still have challenges and problems in PRR in Central Asia. And I would say, I would highlight 3 or 4 of them very quickly. One is related with the prosecution. And in this whole process, and I think this is the least area which is mentioned, and the time is and attention is devoted. And I know that some institutions like IIJ, the International Institute of Justice, or others, and based on the Marrakesh Declaration and others, have already sparked the discussion. And unfortunately, in my view, in Central Asia, we don't talk much about the prosecution of the individuals who are under this rehabilitation and reintegration process, or after the what happens after the repatriation operations are carried out. And especially, I mean, in relation to some of the minors, and whose documentation has created a huge problem, right? And how you restore and how you make sure that those minors, especially under 18, between 15 to 18, how they can be smoothly will be transferring to the adulthood life without facing any bureaucratic obstacles in future, which can trigger and can backfire. All the efforts have been taken in rehabilitation and reintegration processes. The second one, I would say, like, overall, stigmatization and how coherent the institutions at the local level work together, and the orchestrated efforts and the community level. So the just and equitable approach is very important, so that the returnees do not get the attention and support, not more than and not less than other vulnerable groups in the society. So it is absolutely very, very necessary, so that the institutions, the frontline workers and the key institutions at the community level should be aware of, and very much so, and they should apply the equitable and just approach towards all people from the vulnerable groups, including the returnees. And the third area is related with the overall the stigmatization and in the society. And here the media plays a very key, crucial role, and how they report about the the radicalization, and how individuals can get de-radicalized, and with a very a lot of hope in it. And I think that is very important. And the fourth one, I would say, like, it's all related with the social problems, at large, right? The how the radicalization happens, and how societies, through the social cohesion and grievance resolution, can diffuse and can treat themselves, and without really putting certain individuals in a vulnerable situation to get even more radicalized. So I think those are quite the existing challenges, and that we still need to discuss and come up with more or less solutions to that. And as I mentioned, the radicalization and violent extremism is not that far from us. If we look at the context of the external threats, like the situation in Afghanistan or situation in Ukraine, is affecting Central Asia, and plus the internal social cohesion issues that each of the Central Asian countries face, and like any other society around the globe, and how we can constructively approach in the in radicalization processes, and then how we can employ specific tools in de-radicalizing the individuals before they get involved deeper in the violent extremist organizations. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Sainazarov. At this point, we will be concluding the video interview. So once more, we are so very thankful for your contributions today.